let's be honest here. Do you really want to have a cell phone conversation in front of Sevalod Cervene?
No.
Well, I
To
don't
be
even think it
fair,
would
I
have
think
made
we're
it
still in
underground
front
to
of him.
begin with, so.
To be fair, I think he'd be completely confused about what's happening in the first place. Why are you talking to that little thing?
I
And then
doubt
he
he
and
would
then he
know who
sends
this
his
is.
his powers through the cell phone and like paralyze Joseph's brain.
I mean, I think he's pretty aware of, like, how telepathy works.
Yeah. It's just the whole concept of what a cab was. He had problems with that, alright? Leave him alone.
Which is funny because they've had taxi services since the rickshaws of Babylon.
Yeah. Sometimes he forgets things, alright? You know. He's getting
I,
old.
I did like the underground caravel service. That was pretty interesting.
Alright, well, I'll answer my phone.
Well, it's obviously he wasn't calling right then. You have
Oh.
a missed call. I don't know whether Joseph left you a voicemail. Did Joseph leave Jermaine a voicemail?
Jermaine, the second you get this, call me back and tell me where Cutter is.
There you go. And of course, Joseph will end up having left messages with Byron as well as Marcus's Haven phone while Marcus is going crazy in the subway.
Okay, well, in that case, I'll call Byron.
Alright, Byron, you had like a voicemail or something from Joseph, I suppose, unless you picked up the phone. Did you pick up the phone for Joseph? Or one of his
I
schools,
did.
rather?
I did.
Alright, you two need to have this conversation right now.
Byron, I don't know where the Jermaine is, but Cutter's not here.
Huh. They were both in the room with David when I left.
Yeah, the last thing Rain told me was that they were leaving somewhere. Didn't stop them. I'm a little pissed at that, but I don't know where they are right now, and I would much prefer her to be here.
Out of character, I like that thought, like Rain or Craig getting in front of this military-trained ghoul.
I like the thought of them trying to stop Leslie.
That too! Bigger deal.
I like the thought of any of us trying to stop Leslie. I think David Green and Torpor might have the best chance.
I mean,
Wall
as,
Torpor.
as
Right.
soon as she made her choice, no one was stopping her. Myself included.
Right. Well, I mean, what Byron will tell Joseph is, huh. Well, I mean, I tried to delineate the options as best I could with her before I left. Joseph probably will love me saying that. So I don't know. I'll try to contact him and see what's up.
Okay, that said, I hope that either she's running somewhere around a story or something, maybe dive back into David's domain or David's haven or whatever, or fuck, hopefully back with the Anarchs where she might actually have a chance of not dying. But if you get any information, please call me right back.
Will do.
Alright.
So then I
And then,
will,
sometime later, I suppose Byron can end up calling Jermaine. Jermaine, you'll have also missed this call while down with Sevalod.
Right. Well, then the first person I'm going to call back is Byron.
Byron, you're getting your drink on in the club where it's going down.
Because again, strictly speaking, I'm working for him. At the moment.
Alright, Byron, you just got a phone call. Wonder who it's from. Jermaine!
how long was he down there? Like an hour or so? Or I mean, he was out of it, but what time is it on my phone? I would know.
Well, for him, like I said, you're looking at like a 2:30, 2:40 whenever he's calling you now.
Oh, that's right. You did say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. Really, I thought it was like quarter till 2, so he was only down there like 45 minutes. Is that what you're saying?
Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe time is relative when the Zamitzi are involved.
I mean, honestly,
Oh,
that sounds about like the right amount of time for the length of conversation we had.
for the
True, but
conversation, I
also
was
getting
thinking,
across
Who
town.
knows how long that mental transfer was?
yeah, well, it doesn't matter. Well, I'll roll with it. I'll just say, okay, where the heck have you been? Both Joseph and I have been trying to get in touch with you. What happened with you and Leslie after we left? Seems like Leslie cut out right after you did, or before.
She made a decision on where she wanted to go, so I drove her there.
Uh-huh. And you didn't think it'd be a good idea to let us know what she decided?
No, I didn't. In part because I didn't have a way of contacting Joseph while he was out, and in part because I figured you had better things to do. Plus, it's a bad idea to use the phone while I'm in the car.
Leslie Cutter, the woman that has possibly two-thirds of this town after us personally, made a decision on what she wants to do with her life, and you didn't think it might concern the coterie in some way?
Of course I did. But again, I was doing this. I regret not calling you, but there was no one else to contact aside from that. And she made her choice.
Tell you what, we'll talk about this possible breach of contract later.
Breach of contract?
Yes, we'll talk about this later. I'll need to
No,
go over with the coterie as well.
please, talk about this now. If you're suggesting I'm in breach of contract, we can terminate it.
Like I said, I'm not going to make that decision right now, but I said possible breach of contract, potential.
And I'm interested in hearing what grounds you think you have for a breach of contract.
Leslie Cutter was one of the focuses we had when we hired you. We wanted to find her and contain the situation.
You didn't. I have told you before, I'm not an investigator. I'm to protect you. And I did.
Right, but we were also your employer, and perhaps you would ask us before you go off doing things that maybe we would be concerned about. And like I said, this is something that can be brought up with Marcus and Joseph. I'm not going to make a decision about it now, but I'm going to tell you I'm a little annoyed, perturbed that you didn't run this by me before you ran off. Regardless, where did she end up deciding to go?
She chose to go to Tsunitsi. She didn't want to be under the thumb of the Camarilla or the Sabbat.
And so she decided to go hook up with a flesh crafter that could turn into a little rubberized ball on a whim. All right, that sounds legit.
She seemed relatively content with her decision.
By the way, any sort of checks in regards to that, Byron, he's not lying. Whether Byron thinks it's because Jermaine's an awesome liar, or whether Byron...
Which he's not.
Yeah, whatever Byron thinks, like any sort of subterfuge test, Jermaine automatically passes because he's telling the truth on this.
Right. Yeah, I didn't even think of that because I knew he was telling the truth. So I had OOC knowledge on that one, so I didn't do it. Well, all right. Well, what's done is done, I guess.
And regardless, I couldn't have stopped her. All I did was drive her. She would have gotten there on her own.
Fair enough. But I still wish you would let us know.
I mean...
That's fair. And I apologize for that.
But most importantly, did this decision of hers at least get rid of one of our problems?
The material will never see the light of day.
Very good. I guess there's that. I will, do you want to call Joseph back, or shall I?
I suppose I should. I'm not sure how he'll react to it.
Don't forget about the employment opportunities here at Tsunitsi Incorporated.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that's going to come up. I'm waiting for him to talk to Joseph, and Joseph's going to be livid, and
He seems the most erratic of you, which is not surprising.
Right. Byron's going to say, from what I know of Joseph, be careful with the way you word it. And this is going to be funny, it comes from Byron, of course. Yeah, he's probably not going to take it well.
All right. Now I'm going to call up Joseph.
Well, ends up being one of his ghouls.
Or-
I suppose you would call back
No,
whichever
I
phone.
have
Yeah.
all their phones. They're standing right next to me.
The entire time. It's like 45 minutes later. Greg's twitching his leg. Joseph, can I go now?
So Joseph gets back, finds the Leslie missing, and immediately sits by the phones for the rest of the night.
Oh no, I have the phone. I have the phone dragged over to the pulpit, and I'm standing there at the pulpit.
This is great. Just like, where's Leslie? She can turn invisible! I don't fucking know!
All right?
Joseph is a little unhinged right now.
All right. So, in that case, I'm going to call up the church.
Poke-a-dook-a-dook.
Hello? Oh, my voice broke. Hello?
Hello.
Jermaine, so nice to hear from you. Where the fuck are you right now?
Oh, I'm a little ways past Midtown. Why?
Where exactly is Cutter?
I believe she's under Central Park.
And what the fuck is she doing inside that goddamn hole in the ground?
I'm not sure, actually. She asked me for a ride here.
She asked you for a ride here. The girl who had absolutely no idea what the fuck was going on, out of the blue, asked you for a ride to Central Park?
Yes, I assumed that she would have torn me in half with her claws if I had said no.
Just out of character, that's a lie. She didn't ask out of the blue.
Oh,
I
okay.
said she asked out of the blue where you, to drive her to Central Park.
Isn't out of the blue relative?
Yeah, seriously.
Oh, well, okay. I'm sorry, what did you say again? Repeat that one more time, what your answer was? That tossed me a little.
She asked, and I assume that she would have torn me in half with her claws had I said no. I did not have the capacity to stop her.
And she wanted to go to Central Park. Why? The last I remember was she didn't know what was going on. She didn't know about the Zemitzi. Who told her what got said? What?
Actually, you were lurking behind him when he told her about the Semitsi back in the church.
It's very much true, yes.
Yeah, but it was never mentioned that he was in Central Park.
She wanted to go see the Semitsi. In her words, it was preferable to either the Camarilla or the Sabbat.
I don't remember her knowing very much about the Zemitzi. How did she come to the conclusion that it was preferable when we were there in the church? I don't even remember what got told to her, like that there was a Zemitzi hunting her and she decided that means she should turn herself over to him?
She had she explained to me that while she was being hunted, I forget the wording that she used when she was talking about the Sabbat and the Camarilla, the Scourge and all that.
Not helping you there.
No, I'm saying out of character.
Right, like I said, I'm not suggesting anything for you.
Assuming character, you got it.
She said that she felt the Camarilla and the Sabbat were both powerless to protect her against the thing that was hunting her, the thing that was shooting those beams of heat, and asked me to take her there, to him, instead.
The beams of heat, the thing that was the fucking van, destroyed the van.
It was apparently in the warehouse and killed all of her friends in front of her. She's been running from it ever since.
Just OC, Joseph's probably not going to want to kill him anymore. And she's in the fucking hands of the Zemitsi.
She saw it as the safest option.
Let me be very clear. I am rather angry at you for having taken Cutter out of not just my domain, but out of my haven, which I had repeatedly welcomed you into. And I am a little mad.
Would you have preferred I made her walk?
I would have preferred that she not leave. I would have preferred that
no
whatever that thing is
to stop her. Do you think that I could have stood before those claws or held her back with that terrible strength of hers? Once the decision was made, it was out of my hands to do anything but drive or let her go.
I would have preferred that you let her go rather than take her to the fucking devil yourself for your own benefit. For mine.
Because he's the only one who gained it.
Because I'm totally the only one that got anything out of that.
And like Jermaine's like, well, in fairness, I wasn't the one who was blackmailed.
I did add and mine, and before...
I will say, excuse me, Mr. Chung. You were the one who benefited from that. You have no blackmail hanging over your head anymore.
And you have a deal to earn you...
I fulfilled my contract. I protected you, and I protected you in a way that I couldn't have stopped to begin with. Now we can discuss this in greater detail in the group tomorrow night.
Mr. Wallace, as much as you like to think you're doing some great favor, I am not the only one that benefited. I am not the one looking for some powerful elder to sire me. Don't think that with as many times as you've brought it up that I don't see what this is leading to, and don't think that I like it at all.
Then let me make something perfectly clear. I follow your orders because Byron Rand told me to. The only orders that I violated tonight were not informing him. Don't think that you can give me orders that trump his unless I'm in contract to you.
I'm not talking about orders. I don't care about orders. I don't care about any of that. I care about people, individuals, little souls that's been damned, and I'm trying my best to help as many of them as possible, yours included. And I do not think deals with the devil are beneficial to any of our damned souls.
Then you should have hired a humanitarian instead of a mercenary.
That I should have.
Introducing Aaron's third character.
The humanitarian!
Oh god, we're gonna need so much blood to feed all those ghouls we need.
No, the third character's gonna be a humanitarian.
Oh.
He loves eating humans.
Oh god. It's made of people. That said...
It's made of people?
That's the conversation probably ends with a dial tone as Joseph crushes the phone.
Yeah, probably.
With one strength.
Oh, well, crushes it on the ground after struggling to lift it up.
Yeah, he's probably just him slamming it down.
Craig,
Yes.
crush this for me.
Craig, crush it!
Tries to crush it, just slams the receiver down onto the phone. He doesn't even crack it.
I thought my church was going to be bombed tonight, Craig. You don't understand. There's a map.
He doesn't even hang it up. You hear over the end, God damn it! And it's smacking it again.
Why won't you die? Mr. Chung? Ah! Craig!
Yep.
So there you go.
Oh, did you say I would get a dot of vicissitude?
Nope. You can
Okay.
choose to put your experience points into
Gotcha,
training it
gotcha.
up, though.
That's what I was confused on.
Yeah. You don't just get it suddenly, but it's just that you've been suddenly trained in the basic rudimentaries of it, so that if you ever
Good,
choose to
cool.
spend your experience points in it, you can do so.
Understood.
And I believe that counts as a clan discipline for you.
Oh yes, yes it does. It, auspex, animalism,
Well, there you go.
and also celerity for being an independent ghoul.
Yep. Woo! Spring
Yeah,
break.
I've got all kinds of options up here.
I know, and you're drunk on blood right now. Woo! Spring break!
Okay.
Yeah, does Joseph try to give Byron a call or not? I mean, we're
I do
already
call
getting
him.
long in the tooth on this session, but you can call him up if you want.
No, I don't think he's in a state of mind to want to be making more calls.
He just had Craig smash his phone, okay? All of the phones, including the ghoul's cell phone. It's just like, ah!
I don't
Okay.
think he's in a conscious enough mind to think to, oh, the cell phone's too, let's smash those two.
I would say, the storyteller, he made a map of my church. I thought it was gonna be Bob.
Well,
don't
to be fair,
understand.
it was shot up outside, so, there's that.
Lots
And,
of interesting things.
And are we going to be getting the experience this session, or is it going to roll over into the next session as well?
I suppose you all had a major turning point there, particularly with Jermaine's actions. Okay, everyone.
As a side note, I totally would have taken her torpored corpse to him. On the DL.
Okay. I won't tell any of the others.
I don't think you would have been able to really lie your way out of.
Yeah.
That I would have tried to
half-truth.
leave no evidence about.
That was certainly a potential possibility, but if she'd been put in torpor, but she was only incapacitated. That'd have been a fun conversation. So let me get this straight.
She asked you to go while she was in torpor. How does that work?
How could I resist? She would have ripped me apart while in torpor.
No, I would have broken into the basement where she presumably would have been kept, stolen her out, and tried to leave no evidence to my passing.
Because that's what Jermaine does.
I think that would have been a little difficult, considering that the church was probably still, the back doors and everything were probably still locked.
Oh, no, not tonight. But I would have done it.
Oh yeah, but there could have been all sorts of bullshit with that.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm just saying I would have stolen her torpored corpse and handed it over. Because I really think you would have been able to pass her corpse on to someone who wouldn't have, used it themselves.
Yeah.
So, in commendation and recognition for the grand success the party has achieved and wonderful things that they have done over the course of their lives. Marcus, Jordan, you still with us? How do you feel now over the course of this passage a day? You get back home, there's like a message from Joseph bitching about something. You're full of blood. You kind of lost your shit in the subway. Go to sleep.
I'm just gonna go to fucking sleep and deal with whatever it is tomorrow.
Sounds right.
On the negative side, when I find out what's happening, I'm going to be very fucking pissed.
Why will Marcus be upset?
Because Marcus could just... I don't know, but technically Marcus really doesn't have anything to be blackmailed about.
Yeah, there you go. Marcus just wants to be mad.
No, seriously, I don't even think there was anything like Joseph could be blackmailed and David could be blackmailed. I don't think there was anything that Byron or Marcus could be blackmailed about.
See, yeah.
At least
So
I
there's,
think that was meant.
so there's nothing for Marcus to be angry about then, right?
No,
Well,
I
he
want to turn him over to the Camarilla.
Yeah.
Because this asshole's a meat eater really didn't have anything over my head.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Not that I know
we're
of.
kind of complicit in a murder. I mean, we don't know what that video
Yeah,
had.
you actually were an accessory.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
You don't know what that second video file contains, what may or may not have been located at the scene.
And you actually, you absolutely were an accessory to murder for letting it happen.
And you would have been identified as part of the coterie, which apparently led to the complete destruction of the Masquerade. You don't think that Theo Bell and Sheriff know exactly who Joseph hangs out with in his off days, or what?
All I'm saying is that Marcus is probably going to be talking to some people afterwards.
Oh, there we go.
I'm going to be completely complicit with whatever the Camarilla want, because unlike Joseph, Marcus really has no reason to dislike the Camarilla, even though they're assholes.
They're his assholes.
There we go. So yeah.
Byron feels much the same way, amusingly.
In recognition of that.
Say again?
Except for Byron still doesn't understand what the Camarilla are all about.
He's learning slowly. I mean, he made a few gaffes, as he's wont to do, as you noticed, when he first came into town, just because he didn't know. But I don't know if I mentioned this on air or not, but I did mention in chat with Grimith that that's something I want to work towards with Byron, is getting that unconvinced thing or worked off the character sheet somehow.
Well, we certainly can't do that whenever one day passes at a time. We're still not out of the month of January.
Oh, no, I figured this would take months.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, this thing started 7 real-life weeks ago, and we've gone from the 4th of January to now the 31st of January.
Beautiful.
You guys can pass entire decades in this game. We've gone 27 days.
And you know what the funny thing is? There's still time for David Green to get back to what he was doing before.
Totally. At any rate, Marcus, you have gained 5 experience points, as well as 1 point of willpower, in affirmation of, yeah, sure, what happened in the subway was pretty fucking unfortunate, but an affirmation of your recent successes, particularly in dealing a rather wicked blow to Matthew Kane there. The shotgun guy.
Oh, that was his name. I just called him Shotgun Guy.
Yeah. No one really ever thought of trying to get any evidence from, like, the clothes or the things that fell. It was all sort of fast, and the police took it all. Alright. Byron, in recognition of your greatness as well, in affirmation of your life deeds and everything that has transpired over the course of your non-existence, you too earn 5 experience points.
Woo, party.
Joseph, see, you get a willpower point back, and affirmation of not only your character, but in terms of role-playing really well, especially there towards the end. Joseph earns 6 experience points.
Yay, another god of willpower.
And Jermaine there, the ghoul, who has been supercharged by blood, and he's behind on experience points anyway, and he really did advance a whole lot in terms of role-playing personality-wise, particularly with going it on his own as a rogue. Jermaine earns 6 experience points.
Yeah.
Are there any kind of questions, comments, complaints, or concerns about the session that transpired from any of you four? If you have anything to ask me, I'll try to answer to the best of my ability.
Nah, I'm good.
I am halfway to that dot of vicissitude.
Well, there you go. But it might be hard to get Leslie as a tutor for protein, or Viscerotica, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, it's too bad, but, I mean, it's not like, Jermaine actually wanted that.
It's a shame that Jermaine's going to be an NPC, huh?
I'm actually really pleased by that.
You don't want to handle being a Zavitsi? What?
I actually really like the idea of a really powerful, gray area NPC running around Manhattan trying to build up his own domain and his own mercenaries and all that sort of stuff.
Alright.
Because make no mistake, that's what Jermaine's planning on doing. He's planning on becoming something of a gray market mercenary for hire crime lord.
We'll see if Jermaine even gets that far.
Oh yeah, he might be dead this session. And more importantly, he's got in my hands soon.
Who knows? He might have a heart attack.
There's going to be another fucking 15 sessions before Jermaine leaves your hands. What are you talking about?
He's not going to have a heart attack. He's a ghoul.
No, he could have a heart attack by me stabbing him in the heart.
That's not a heart attack.
I suppose if his heart is attacked...
It's all semantics.
No, it's not.
Black Pearl Gamer asks, Grimith, the blackmail discs, were they both the David breaking in and the Joseph murdering the drunk driver? Well, I mean, how else would the Zemitzi Elder have known?
Yeah, that almost certainly is what it sounds like. It was one of the... That was what the other file was.
How will David react hearing what happened to Leslie? Leslie who? Oh, right, her. Yeah, I saved her once upon a time, I guess.
Clearly, we need David Grieve to save the... This is a meaty asshole.
I'm not gonna lie. David, if he hears about the shit that went down, he's going to be fucking livid.
Which does not help his already condition as soon as he wakes up out of torpor.
Oh yeah, he might go straight into frenzy from torpor.
You fucking kept me alive! You never ate me!
Well, I could eat you now. I mean, that's one way. That's one way from going to 13th generation to, like, 11th generation.
Grimith, did that Elder's grandsire use Earth's vast haven? Yes, I'm going to tell you what Lambach Ruthen, what would have happened to him, because that's totally not an interesting point of the campaign at all.
Well, he definitely used something similar to that in that battle, although I don't know that Byron would even know that power exists. But
That could have easily been him using Protean, though.
Yeah.
It could easily have been using a numerous amount of things.
And with how Elders can go, the entire book, after 5 dots, is just suggestions. There could have been something else that he personally developed.
Yeah.
Yeah, Celerity 7. Fuck it.
Yeah, he's just gonna do a Tasmanian devil spin straight through the earth. Just a fucking Looney Tunes dig.
Oh yeah, Grimith, just FYI, no one should be surprised by where those experience points went.
No, especially whenever you said, willpower!
Yeah.
Yes, he did say that out loud. What are you at now, 7?
He started off at like 3, now is 7.
Besides,
This month has been good for Joseph's
Right.
willpower.
This will be a pretty big soul crusher here, Callie. You know, I mean, fourth generation is, of course, limited to 9 dots, which Earth's Vast Haven is, but I mean, if he's been alive for a few thousand years, I mean, White Wolf tells me I can do whatever I want as the storyteller. There might not be a 9th level vicissitude. It might turn you into a zombie.
But as long as it's not a zombie.
I considered making Jermaine do roles with Joseph. They're two-player characters. It's possible if Joseph had been more inquisitive, if Jermaine hadn't pulled as much shit out of his ass as he did and stuck so closely to the truth. The situation of the fact that, the blackmail information was going to be gone now, which helps both Jermaine as well as the player characters in pursuing their own agendas. There's the fact that Leslie Cutter asked Jermaine to take him there, and there's no fucking way in hell that Jermaine would have been able to stop Leslie at all.
Which I kept kind of, pointing out.
Yeah, that's what kind of won Byron over, because he saw what she could do, and he's like, yeah, she wanted to go there. Yeah, his main complaint is you didn't call him. He wasn't even, if you had called him, he probably would have gone along with it too. So he doesn't.
And he's totally going to own up to that. That was his bad.
Yeah, the main thing is you didn't really reveal to Joseph that it was majorly you that implanted the idea of going there.
Yeah, he doesn't give a fuck about that. He's not even going to go into that. But he is going to admit his wrongdoing in not contacting Byron, and will suggest that if he sees it necessary, he might take a dock and pay for this month.
Perhaps Jermaine will pay for the damage to the car. And the ammunition.
Exactly. I fucked up is the least I can do. I understand.
Yeah,
and he will point out to Joseph that he did warn Leslie Cutter that the Simitsi are monsters and not to trust them.
Yeah, Joseph does not care about that.
That's too late. Joseph already broke the phone. You want to talk to him, you're going to have to get an
I'm saying in the upcoming night.
So is that when the next session will be taking place? The night of January 31st?
Yeah, probably.
And it will probably run through a couple of days depending on what happens. I mean, if nothing attacks us, I don't know about Byron and Marcus, but there is no way Joseph's agreeing to that deal.
To which deal?
The one with the Sokolov gave you with rounding up 13 people?
I'm not passing that on to you guys.
If you bring that up, okay.
I'm doing that in my free time.
Okay, but that's gonna be a while away then.
Oh no, why would you think that I would ever include you guys on that?
Well, Sevalon did say that you could include it to your employers as a potential way for them to earn rewards as well. He also said that he might not that they might not understand.
Well, Jermaine's barely willing to do it himself.
Yeah, no. If brought up to Byron would give him a really weird, hard look and just say, well, if you want to do it, we'll just terminate the contract and you can go do it yourself. I mean, it's like he's not going to split himself with another employer, but he's not going to judge you for it necessarily.
Well, it's not just you. You can go do it too. Rewards! I mean, you've cleared off the blackmail. What else could a powerful vampire who's the grandsire of Lombok Ruthen and whose grandsire is Lombok Ruthen, whose great-grandsire is Zamitzi itself? Think of what he could offer.
Humanity 7,
think of what he
that.
is.
I brought him the girl, and he wiped away the debt.
Remember your Humanity 7. You are supposed to be on rollback bound.
Byron, be the moral center of this party, quickly.
Well, no, I mean, he's just,
in all seriousness, we don't know what he's going to do with her. We don't have even the slightest clue.
Oh, Leslie, arguable. With the 13 guys.
Oh no, with those. Are you kidding me? I'm going to be losing all kinds of humanity for that.
Yeah, with Leslie, arguable. I think Joseph would probably have to make a humanity roll. Everyone else maybe not. But with the
I would
13
have
guys,
to.
with the 13 guys, it's whoa no that you're gonna be losing humanity with that.
13 guys, you say?
I mean, clearly you guys have picked up at this point that Jermaine was, the Ghoul of a Samitsi. He has to be aware of the fate he's sending these people to. Leslie,
Joseph
less
has
so.
no idea
He's
that.
not right. I'm saying out of character. But I mean, Leslie, less so. He's honestly not sure what he plans to do with her. He just doesn't know. But these people he's bringing, he knows exactly what's going to happen to them.
They, at minimum can be mortals. Of 13 interesting people, or at least, sort of however iconic they end up being to Jermaine or to the player characters if they somehow got involved and wanted to go along with this. Minimum. But should Jermaine, perhaps with the help of the others, since Jermaine probably couldn't do it himself, find and sequester 13 vampires and transport them to Sevalod Cerveni, then the rewards would likely increase as well. He's just looking for interesting people.
Yeah, Byron would do vampires because, they're undead and damned anyway.
If you could find 13 Sabbat vampires to, say, a raid on Jersey City itself...
That you might actually be able to talk the coterie into.
And I could volunteer into corpse disposal. After all, they still leave bone fragments, clothes, ash, all that kind of stuff if you kill them then and there.
Right.
I would strongly recommend against going to Jersey City because we've already killed a bunch of them and are attacking us now. Heading to Jersey City is like rattling the hornet's nest.
You
No,
can
really.
assume also that he would like them alive, or if they're vampires, not finally dead.
Right, in torpor.
Yeah, I'm thinking raid on Theo Bell. He's got to be good for like 2 or 3, right? If we send him there in torpor.
Oh my goodness. You guys hatch a plan to capture Theo Bell and give him to Sevalot.
It's gonna be a plan
You know
with
what?
those 3, not me.
You know
How
what?
pleased would Sevalot be?
I never even considered this as a possibility.
I
That
don't
would
think
be
it's a possibility.
that would be the first surprise if you all somehow managed to subdue Theo Bell and take him to...
Okay, I think I have a plan for how to do this, but we'll need a really strong bicycle.
Oh god.
No. I'm out.
You're out. You're done.
I'm done.
Hey!
This game just got too crazy.
Hey,
I'm out.
Theo Bell, let me tell you about the Zamitzi that's living below Central Park.
I know the way into his haven.
I managed to subdue his ghoul, thus obtaining a key there.
Good luck lying to Theo Bell. That's all I can tell you.
Well,
Okay,
just have Byron do it.
How about this?
He'd never see it coming, right?
A Tzimitzi living under Central Park gave me this key and asked me to lure people there. Do you want me to bring you to him so you can bring him to justice?
Either way, you win.
Either way, I win.
Well, assuming he doesn't take out an army to go down there and they both survive and both hate you for it. Then
That's
you really
true.
lost.
It would be unfortunate if Sevalod either somehow figured out this plan or survived the plan,
To be
because...
fair, I would actually want... the actual intention was to tell Sevalod in advance and tell him when I would be bringing him down so that he could be properly ambushed. Just saying.
But you would also have to consider the possibility that, while most of you would likely not know that a Zamitzi lived under Central Park, if someone's gonna know, it's probably him, right?
That's true.
That said, it also may just the fact that you did that would piss him off enough for him to just kill you anyways. Sovalot to just kill you anyways. telling people about it rather than actually subduing them and taking them there.
I doubt it. He seems like the sort that really enjoys trickery and manipulation.
Right. And
Yeah,
there's the fact too, like, Theo Bell's gonna be like, of course, Jermaine's just a ghoul. What the hell's he gonna do against Sevalod?
Yeah, but then Theo Bell passes that before he goes down, passes that information to everyone else, and then everyone knows there's Sevalod under Central Park.
That might be alright with him. The Sabbat tried to recruit him.
It's just an idea. I don't even know who knows or who doesn't.
That's right.
Just throwing a thought out there.
I'm thinking the entrance to his domain there is pretty secure. So he probably wouldn't even care. What are you going to do? Find the shack, go down the stairs, find the elevator, and try to break the code before he sends...
I mean, all you can do is just, like, if you destroy the shack, I'm sure he has no other possible exits out from underground. He'd be completely buried, right?
Well, I'm just saying, I
burned
don't think
down
he could even
Manhattan on
get in
him.
there before he mounted a counterattack or something. So
There you go. He said it as a joke, but if Joseph somehow found a way to bring down Manhattan, wouldn't that be some shit? Manhattan suddenly collapses inside itself.
Revealing
You think it's a
extensive
joke?
underground caverns.
You think
News
it's a joke.
11.
Joseph doesn't think it's a joke. If he finds out a way, he's bringing down Manhattan.
So that brings me to the question there. What did you all think about the major NPCs you met, from the Ghoul Dimitri to Sevalod Cerveni and his underground haunted mansion?
At first I thought it was funny, because of the voices. Then I thought it was terrifying. In part because of the voices. I ended with it still being terrifying.
yeah, no, Byron sees that stuff every day. No big deal at all. Yeah, he was pretty put at unease, I guess, as well.
Well, not just not just your characters necessarily, but you, the players, as well.
I thought it was pretty cool.
I found it very off-putting.
If this is the grandchild of Lombok Rusin, I don't want to actually meet Lombok Rusin. I just want to be as far away from any Zamitzi as possible.
Yeah, what did you guys think of Jermaine trying to impress upon Leslie that, no, really, Tzimitzi are monsters. Not like vampires. Monsters.
Well, I, as a person, totally agree with that. I don't know how much Byron is. I mean, he may have met him in his backstory, but probably not. So he doesn't know that much about him. Yeah, he only knows this one, and from what he saw of this person, yeah, he'd tend to agree as well, I guess.
It's definitely possible that that Byron might have met Zamitzi, perhaps even Autarchus, but they are so... they're practically non-existent. Almost all Zamitzi end up identifying with the Sabbat. They're the cornerstone of the Sabbat, just as the Lasombra are.
And
Well, I was
the only
thinking
ones...
of the ancient ones that are still in. I forgot the name of the place, but Eastern Europe there.
They don't move from there. The old clan doesn't leave.
Ever.
Right. Yeah. Well, okay. I mean, he probably would not have. I mean, even if he traveled, because I mean, he's from Lorraine. He was with Lorraine with his sire for 15 years. She may have traveled over there to see one. She may have known one, but whether she took him and whether
That
he talked
seems
to him.
weird that she would move.
I just find it incredibly unlikely that an old world venturer would try to visit an old world Tzimitzi.
Well, I mean, they probably have more in common with each other than they do the newer generations. But
Who knows what vampires do?
Vampires, you'd be crazy. You cray-cray.
There you go. So, Sean, Jordan, what'd you think?
About the Zamitzi, I kind of liked him. Interesting character. I'm not sure where exactly to put him. Joseph, though, thinks he has more of an understanding of him than the rest of the group. because of the speaking in voices and accents changing, he thinks he understands the concept of eating people's souls, and there's some kind of connection there.
Not realizing that Jermaine actually has tons of experience with Simitzi and how alien and horrible they are.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he has no idea about that, but he thinks he has at least a little bit more understanding of the whatchamacallit, oh, fuck, the Tzimisce than the rest of the coterie. And Jermaine, he thinks he has more understanding of Tzimisce than him. Definitely doesn't, but in terms of what I think of him, it's an interesting character.
He seems like an interesting character who has a lot of personality and seems to... I know this is the wrong word, but seems to be very provincial in his charms, in that he doesn't understand the modern world as much as some elders would. So that's kind of interesting. But Marcus doesn't like Tzimisce, period, after, the whole Lombok-Ruthen thing, so he doesn't like them, period. The only reason he went along with is because everyone else was there, so he could be reasonably certain that if he was going to die, he would die with his coterie mates. So there's that.
It's very heroic of Marcus.
Soldier to the end, man.
Besides, maybe you can take out your frustrations on the grandchild of Lombok-Ruthen, right?
If they had broken down to a fight and we had somehow survived and won, I am quite almost certain that Marcus, if he was hungry, would have Diablerized him. You guys would have had to try really hard to stop him, but that's a lot of ifs going my way.
I mean, yeah, according to Angry Ice Cream, and I agree, man, this is just total racism, guys. He's just a meatsy, come on.
This is Vampire the Masquerade, my friend. Stereotypes about clans are almost always right.
He's not a Sabbat.
True, but he's still fucking weird.
That makes him that even makes him more dangerous. Sabbat, you at least have an idea of how they're going to react. Him, it's who knows.
You can trust a Sabbat to backstab you, but I don't think I can trust this guy to do anything. There's that. And there's also the fact that he actually is related to Lombok-Ruthen, so one bad experience, direct child.
Not direct. He is the grandchild. He's the direct child of Voivode Zarak.
And as the chat says, he's not Sabbat because he thinks the Sabbat aren't badass enough.
He did belittle them.
He did.
True, but I don't think that... Whatever. The point is, Marcus feels strongly the way he does. And I actually really like the guy's name because it's I actually like the guy's name and everything. It has like all sorts of weird Russian vibes coming from him.
Well, that was the intent.
Yeah. Most Tzimisce are Eastern European, although if Jermaine becomes one, Jermaine Wallace the Tzimisce, well, that's going to be weird.
Well, all these higher generation Tzimisce vampires that spring up,
I mean, they're old.
I mean, he gets a few hundred years under his belt. Jermaine Wallace will be so fucking archaic. It's like, the year 2332. What the fuck is Jermaine Wallace?
I mean, Jermaine Wallace is already a little bit outdated of a name at that point.
You want to talk about stereotypical Tzimisce? That's stereotypical black right there. That's 90s black.
Whoa!
He was one of the Jackson 5. Don't tell me that name's gone out of style.
I know. That's right. He grew up in Harlem, son. On the streets.
He grew up in Harlem immediately following the Harlem Renaissance.
On the streets. In the ghetto.
Jermaine actually had a decent life.
In the ghetto.
But seriously, he left to go join the military.
Right.
Marcus Paulson grew up in the fucking ghetto.
But that's good.
Yes.
I knew the voices would inspire a sort of like a visceral laughing reaction, like when Aaron said, "I can't stop fucking laughing at him." But I thought that would I was hoping that would change.
Yeah. Well, it's because he started with like a southern drawl.
Welcome to my humble domain, little K-Knights.
Well, and because it was the horrifying entrance, like the austere alien horror, and then welcome.
My first impression was gay cowboy when I heard that voice.
Yes.
My first impression was this is going to go horribly bad. The guy with the fucking stupid voice is going to be the one that kills us.
Well,
This is
I mean,
embarrassing.
you guys heard Blockhead, and I know you laughed at him until he had that creepy moment where Aaron was like, "Holy fuck!"
You mean after I asked him what his real name was?
Yup. If I ever told you, it'd be the last thing you ever hear.
Well, on one hand, that is really scary. I think Marcus might have. At the time, Marcus was really scared. It's like, wow, this guy's really, really scary.
User in your channel timed out.
Bye, Aaron.
That scared Aaron, that's for damn sure.
Scared him right in the chat.
I think his internet crashed. Let me check Skype.
See, normally it's Sean the one who does that at the opportune moments, but
No, his Skype's still on. I don't know what the hell's going on.
well, sometimes it takes Skype a little bit of time to register the fact that the person has suddenly disappeared.
And it still lists him in chat of Twitch.
And that also takes some time to register. Dexy says he had someone bring him 13 gay cowboys.
Well, you never know. With flesh crafting, you could definitely make human centipede.
Right. There's no telling how we ended up picking those up those accents. Perhaps it was after consultations with interesting people.
There he goes.
But yes, that was the desired and intended effect. Come on, you three players and your characters won't be interested in perhaps gathering up 13. Surely there's 13 people you dislike somewhere in this city. Come on.
Everyone running for Prince.
There you
So
go.
Valentine, that
Maybe.
Malkavian whose name I forgot.
Carter
Yeah.
van der Weyden. You have the sheriff, Ellen
Okay.
Panhard.
Yes, this is going to be so easy.
You know what? There's one person we actually haven't met yet, and damn it, we can't meet him because David's dead. Well, yeah. We haven't actually met Calibros yet.
You have not met the Prince Pro Tempore. You have not actually met any Nosferatu beyond David Grimm.
I think that is a horrible problem that we need to rectify.
Nor have you met any Tremere.
Again, something we need to rectify because those are clans that actually would know a lot of things, and we're just like herpaderp. We're not going to ask them.
Yeah, and this Sturbridge woman, she has purple hair. We really need to talk to her. It's a joke.
It's not purple. It's purple because it's cast by the peculiar light of the picture. It's actually, not purple.
Okay, well, it's cool. Whatever.
She's not a dick, apparently, though.
Listen, she is the high regent of all the Tremere in New York City. Her hair can be whatever the fuck color it wants to be.
Hey man, I like purple hair. I had nothing against it. I was just saying it was interesting. So-
We haven't even met Jeannie Estevez.
Yep. He's
Is
a
he
Tremere
related-
region.
Is he related to Emilio Estevez?
No relation.
Damn it.
But he does have tiger blood running through his veins.
There are a lot of people we have not met yet.
Definitely. Then there's more who have not been depicted on the various maps. Because, like I said, I don't have the desire to design all 200 plus vampires in New York City.
I was about to ask, have we met a Toreador before, but then I remembered the sheriff's actually a Toreador, and that scares me.
Why?
Because he doesn't seem like a Toreador.
He's a Toreador. Perhaps you can somehow stun him by showing him pretty pictures before taking him to Sevalon.
Yes, I could do that, and we'll be stunned together.
Well, we kind of expect that of you now.
So yeah.
I didn't get stunned by Svesevolod's very pretty house. I mean, it was gorgeous, but I was too scared to at least.
There we go. I mean, I had you roll. It would have been interesting if you just stood in front of a marble statue and gone, "My God, this woman is amazing, and she's made out of marble."
And then you guys wake me up and I'm like, what the hell happened? Where were we here for? What?
There we go.
Some meatsy asshole? What? No.
His house was beautiful. I went to work for it.
You know what? This guy might be a Samitsi, but he has a beautiful fucking house. I'll work for him.
There we go. How would the Camarilla react if the party gave Sevalod a bunch of random vampires? I don't know. How do you three think the Camarilla would react if you gave Sevalod a bunch of random vampires, particularly if they were Camarilla aligned?
First, depends if they find out. So let's assume they find out. They probably would frown on that. If they're
Take us and leave us
Sabat,
for the sun. If they're Camarilla, if we give him 13 Camarilla vampires, they're gonna stake us and leave us for the sun.
Or worse. There's worse that they can do. They can hand us over to the Tremere and have the Tremere do magical experiments upon us. That's almost as bad as going to the Samitsi.
Hell, they could give us to the Sabat.
Karaga says, "Dude, now I want to see a Tremere Elder engage in battle at Zabitsi." There is very likely no vampire as powerful as Sevalod Cerveni within the entire New York metropolitan area. It is highly likely that the 6th generation vampire is the most powerful K-Knight here.
That's it, Sevalod Prince.
The question is Theo Bell anywhere near powerful as him when he's in round? That's the big question.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, Theo Bell's not 6th generation.
Oh well. But yeah, to again answer that question, apparently in Dark Ages of Dark Ages of Vampire, the Tremere and the Tzimisce fought wars. This was before the Camarilla or the Sabbat, so they actually fought wars against each other.
The Warlocks are the hated enemies of the Fiends. The Tzimisce see the Tremere as whelps, upstarts, who stole the blood of Cain for their stupid sorcery. There's a grudge there, which exists more with the older ones than it does with the newer ones. That hasn't quite gone away. And to an extent that exists with the other old vampires, too. They certainly do frown upon what the Tremere have done. But, you know, in 1998, no one really cares.
But now everybody's hunky-dory inside that ivory tower of theirs. All one giant vampiric family.
All I'm saying is that whenever you meet a vampire who can actually name all of their sires tracing back to Tzimisce, and is proud of it, it's a big deal.
Then you have met a bad guy.
I mean, Marcus can only count up one. He doesn't know who his sire is. I mean, she's a 12th generation, but that doesn't mean shit, but whatever.
Miranda.
Byron has at least two. I don't know if even because it was Lydia's husband sired her, and then Lydia sired Byron. So who knows about Lydia's husband, who sired him?
Strangely enough, I can trace back if the second generation vampire who actually made Tzimisce is what the books say they are. It's the same vampire that also made the Toreador one and the Malkavian one.
Well, there you go. You're related to Sevalod.
Yes.
You're bros.
All the way up to Enoch.
You're practically bros.
Right. We're like there's like 7 generations separating us, and so many vampires.
And of course, the concept of diablerizing him is sort of out of the question.
Well, I mean, I could try.
You
But
would
no.
die.
Yeah, if you ever made it past the willpower checks, I don't know what those would be to stay attached.
Each acidified blood point that comes in contact with something other than the vampire himself does 5 dice worth of aggravated damage. If the vampire is injured in combat, his blood may spatter on an opponent. Foes must make dexterity plus athletics rolls to avoid the blood, which must be accomplished by splitting their dice pools. Unless an opponent knows the vampire has this power, she's unlikely to split her dice pool on the first attack, which causes many Zamitzi to cackle with glee.
On the bright side, we do know that he has this power.
You do! He demonstrated it. So if you ever got into a fight with him, you could make sure to split your dice pools.
Something I really don't want to do.
If we ever get into a fight with him, can we just throw in the towel and we all die?
Take us!
Yeah, probably.
Certainly there was the possibility of getting into a fight with him. You could have chosen to do that.
No, when he's that close to Samitsi himself, no.
When you're right there,
When he's
so
that
far
close-
underground,
I mean, I don't know how to get out. Besides
in
the
his
elevator.
haven.
Through the elevator, I would hope.
And God knows what kind of monsters he has hidden behind closed doors. Yeah.
That elevator trip took minutes. You don't think that elevator could be stopped before you get back? That'd be some shit with it.
There is only one way we would get out of there if we got in a fight, and that would be by killing a 6th generation vampire. If that happens, we've already won.
What are you gonna do? Rock, paper, scissors to determine who diablerizes?
Okay, Byron, you're the victor. You're the lucky one tonight.
You say, all right, well, find me 13 bodies, and I'll drain each one between each blood point.
You're gonna blood bond.
No, I mean, yeah. You take one blood point, take 5 points aggravated damage, and you go drain 10 points from someone, get it back, and then, back, or whatever it is, back and forth, back and forth.
Basically, he needs as much blood as possible to drain as much blood from this guy as possible.
He'd kill like a city block doing that, wouldn't he?
He would need a very long time to heal aggravated damage.
Yeah, it would take a while. It's if he were determined enough, if he really wanted that one generation, I guess. I mean, he might. It's absurd to think about anyway, because it just ain't gonna happen.
If you could get him while he was somehow asleep.
I mean, what if I had a boatload of fortitude?
You would need 5 points of fortitude to resist the damage, and even then, his blood is made out of acid. It's not actually blood, it's acid.
Could you just straight up drain him, like not actually drink it, but just like drain it out of his body? I'm just completely asking the question.
You would have to empty an entire 6 generations blood pool if you wanted to try to make that case.
But you could do it with like embalming fluid and stuff, and then deal with that. At least that wouldn't do damage to you.
Okay, that said, I actually need to go.
Alright.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. 11 o'clock is my cutoff, and I'm already like 7 minutes beyond that. So I'll head on out too. It was a good session.
Right.
I liked it.
It was a good, what, like 8 hours?
Any final words for the YouTube audio recording?
Is it the usual thing to say, fuck you, YouTube, you should watch it on my stream?
Yeah, I think that's good. Okay, bye.
Grimith will have the link in his thing. Just go there on Saturdays, blah, 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 blah.
There you go.
User disconnected from your channel. User disconnected from your channel. User disconnected from your channel.
So there you are, folks. The end of Chapter 7. How about that? Did you all enjoy? It was rather interesting these past 8 hours. I didn't think the session would go this long, but there you go. Not exactly 100% surprised. Please feel free, if you have any questions or comments to myself or to the players, you can leave them in the comments for this video, and I'll inform the players if they're not paying attention themselves, and we'll answer them. You should primarily direct your questions to the players rather than to me. Simply because there's some things I can't, / won't, tell you. So many mechanics and mechanisms and what have you that are operating behind the scenes. For example, I won't tell you, the fate of Leslie Cutter. I won't tell you Sevlod Cerveni's true intentions. I won't tell you the fate of Lambach Ruthin. I won't tell you what the Camarilla response to what the coterie has done will be, especially if they've failed to, return Leslie Cutter to them. Jermaine took it upon himself to do something here, which, not everyone in the party agreed with, but he was left alone, and he had the opportunity to seize on that moment, and Leslie, on her side, saw it as the best choice. Whether that actually ended up being the best choice for... we can't say, but it certainly doesn't look like sending anyone to Sevlod is a fantastic idea. That was the intent and purpose of the character. I know I have an awkwardness with accents, which actually helped me in that role. My abilities with my vocal cords to make crazy shifts and changes, and certainly inspire. Besides, I think there is something definitely terrifying, not so much by the forceful and the obvious, but by the insidious, sort of with Duke Wily, the Wily Fist, who is soft-spoken in nature. The ones who are truly confident and capable of their power, they know they don't have to be showy, although it can be useful at times. Oh, but that takes care of it for me for this session. Very busy. Very thought-provoking. I didn't have a whole lot planned. As I explained so many times, what I provide the players are tools, a scaffolding. I knew that I was going to introduce the coterie to a ghoul of Sevlod Cerveni. And whether they chose to follow that ghoul to the Tzimisce Autarchus was up to them. There was certainly a large amount of persuasion put in, simply by mentioning the fact that that -V below the Tuata Lumea was not from Valentine, but instead from the Tzimisce Elder Alien. So, of course, they were naturally persuaded to go along, but it wasn't on the railroad. At any moment they can choose to go their own way, which is perfectly fine with me, just that there are consequences and ramifications for everything. They would not have been put in this position to meet Sevlod were it not for the fact that David was so careless at the municipal building, and that the rest of the coterie was so careless outside the Muncie Hudson Expediting and Storage Complex, where Joseph stabbed a man in the spine. They chose that path to have such egregious Masquerade violating information be written about in the initial channels of mortal government. And were it not for Sevlod's contacts and ghouls and whatever he has in control of the city, it's possible the information might have been published, completely shattering the Masquerade. But I couldn't have that, could I? That'd be too simple. Sort of like how when Byron killed Dante Avant through a botch. He wasn't an overly important character, and I thought it served a purpose, though, truly critical character won't be killed so easily. It was because it just made things more interesting. And, of course, Leslie finished off the incapacitated Matthew Kane, so they can't get any information from him as well. The only character to survive was Stefan Jammer, who ran the fucking Dickens and just narrowly escaped from Joseph. Narrowly. And that was even though he had 2 additional dice. He had a high die, he still had several blood points left in his blood pool. His dexterity was maxed, and he was at full health, so he wasn't slowed down. Like, fuck this. See ya, bitches. We were clearly outnumbered from the start. Leslie Cutter was far more power than we had anticipated. We were sent here to try to capture her. We clearly did it fucking wrong. Yeah, I was expecting the coterie to succeed in that, but I did not know whether Leslie Cutter would actually survive. I assumed the worst that would happen was that she'd fall into torpor. But it could have gone horribly wrong. Roles could have been different so that Leslie went down. Her attacks could have failed to connect, completely botched, and she could have went down fast. And that unarmed guy was the most dangerous out of the 3. If he had actually hung around there, then who fucking knows what would have happened. Who knows? But Leslie dealt with him. As Leslie's birthright. Now, as to what Leslie Cutter actually is, it's hard telling. Certainly she has powers, but that could be all due to attributes. She might have strength, values of 4, dexterity values of 4, all those other things. She might have potence of 2, protein of 2, viscerotica of 1, along with her normal physical attributes. She might be a 14th generation vampire, or a thin blood, or even a 15th gen vampire. Who knows? Although, likely not 15th gen. She had to spend enough blood to not only use those feral claws, but to bring herself back from incapacitated. That's 1 blood point per health level. So there you go. A little bit of a revelation. But as to, the true possibilities awaiting, and there's no telling how truthful Sevalod was. It's hard to trust a vampire. This is such a selfish game with such selfish characters, and it really does inspire the feel of trust no one. And if there's anyone who's going to be able to successfully lie to you, it's a vampire who's had several hundred years, if not over 1,000, or even longer, to craft lies. Become a great deceiver. And if all else failed, he could have exuded his absolutely soul-crushing disciplines, of which he has many. And those lowly neonates would have had no chance. But he didn't. He offered them an opportunity, and they took it. I am interested that Jermaine ended up alone with Leslie, so that he was able to. I certainly got the sense of what Jermaine would do if he was alone. And to an extent, that was partly influenced by Cephalon, who, after that failed willpower roll there, which was extremely hard, as it was intended to be, he was carrying an artifact from the Tzimisce, and had already expressed an interest in, opening his mind to being the child of the Tzimisce. And I knew that's what his character wanted, to become the child of a powerful vampire. But it's interesting that the options and choices ended up what they did. And that's why I just provide tools. That's all I do. You can't prepare for every eventuality that the player characters will throw at you. they're too... Well, I can't say this for everyone. Players of role-playing games and tabletop games play in such a variety of ways. There are people who come in, they just want to run through dungeons. They want dungeon crawls. They want to, at the end of the session, they want to be back in town, have a little bit of off time, maybe do a bit of fanciful joking roleplay there, have some connections there, and a little bit of story development. But the primary thing they want to do is beat up monsters, defeat evil, take treasure. Not everyone enjoys this overly complex role-playing nature, which features itself in Vampire the Masquerade. Probably gonna fucking break my control key holding it down like this. I've been looking away for like a few minutes. I just like checked like, I wonder if I wonder if I'm still holding this down. Wouldn't it be funny if I was just talking for a few minutes? I don't know how long I keep going here. I'll try on continuous transmission. I'm an administrator. I can do whatever the fuck I want. So, yeah. We end up in a interesting situation here. But I don't prepare or plan for all the eventualities, because I don't know what the dice will do. For example, I don't have a list of botches. I don't know when the player characters are going to roll botches, but I have to respond accordingly. Jermaine there lost a significant portion of dice. Byron tripped down a staircase, lost the gun. You had other situations, in past botches where Byron killed Dante Avant. David Green caused an entire cascade of shelves to collapse, followed by him with another botch absolutely and completely failing to pick up any form of relevant information to the Fratelli family at all. You guys remember a time when they were trying to perhaps get a blood bond with an organized crime family member? What about those halcyon days? Oh, goodness. But, again, going back to the teaching points there, it's, people ask me, like, how much of this was planned, how much of it coming up ad-libbed. I have an idea of the hook that's going to be put inside the players, in front of the players. A potential resolution of who sent us that information. I wanted it to be assumed that it was Valentine. It made things interesting whenever this came to light. Did it end up being coincidence that the name of the Zemitsu be on the letter V just as the name of Valentine? No, I planned that. Just to see if the players would automatically assume whether it was Valentine. I wanted it to be fun. Besides, it fits. Eastern European names tend to end with those tend to begin rather those interesting letters such as V. Sorry, I don't convey my thoughts clearly right now. Been 8 hours of session. Shit. No, I can't plan for every eventuality. I just have the tools in place there. I knew how Dimitri was going to act and respond. I knew his general persona, and that's what matters the most. In order to do such an ad-libbing type style, you either need to understand the personality of your characters, as well as the setting and background of the game, or you need to be able to create that on the fly. I have spent some time over the past weeks, actually, as soon as the session transpired with Joseph stabbing the drunk driver in the back, and David absolutely failing at raiding this managerial building. From that moment on, a few days, that's when I knew who had sent the information and who that person was, and how they would convey themselves, and where they would be, and how the party would, not exactly how the party would eventually come to meet him, but through what agent. And I worked from there. And so I've had all these weeks just to, not spending a whole lot of time, just whenever I get a free moment, like in the shower, or I'm laying in bed, or, I'm waiting for food to heat up, or I'm waiting for a YouTube video to load, or what have you, I'll think about it and go, players can do this. What if he had a curious way of speaking by which his vocal cords constantly shifted, as if he were having fun, or if he couldn't make up his mind? Perhaps as if he consumed and melded the vocal cords of so many other people together. And he is undeniably inhuman. Irrefutably, incontrovertibly inhuman. Every single iota of description I provided from him indicates that. And there can be no doubt or question, all the player characters realize this, should they choose to continue following the requests of this Tzimisce Autarchus, it will lead to the loss of humanity. But the rewards for this, there is money to be had, sure, for certainly this Tzimisce Autarchus is undeniably incredibly evil, wealthy, rather. Evil, too. Well, maybe not evil, just perhaps he's misunderstood. But the whole idea of him being able to offer so much more, from how many teachers of vicissitude will this party encounter and somehow persuade to teach them vicissitude? Vicissitude is not as secretly, guarded as, say, thaumaturgy is, but vicissitude, it's the primary discipline of a clan which is very much a part of Sabbat, and that kind of goes against the Camarilla. So, befriending a Tzimisce or someone who knows vicissitude to actually teach you vicissitude, little difficult. Not that it's impossible, just it would take a lot of work. And here's a golden opportunity laying in front of the player characters. Take this. You can do this. Should you succeed? What do you care? Just 13 people. You can even bring vampires. Surely there's vampires you don't like. Surely the 3 of you and a ghoul, 3 vampires and a ghoul, particularly when one of the vampires is 8th generation, can overpower vampires. Bring them to Tzimisce Autarchus. Surely that can be done as well. And money? Teachings of vicissitude? Perhaps donations of vitae? Yes. The blood of a 6th generation vampire is powerful, and it was designed to be powerful, as well as enticing. 2 dots each in perception, intelligence, and wits, as well as a dot each in potence and fortitude, albeit for a temporary period of time. Not animalism, aspects, or vicissitude, the primary clan disciplines. It was perhaps to heighten what Jermaine was already good at. Maybe it would heighten the abilities of what the other vampires were good at. If they drank, maybe they wouldn't. But it instills the idea in their heads of an option. Do I expect them to take it? No. Not from what I know of the characters. Not from what the players have given me as the characters. Joseph wouldn't do that. Marcus wouldn't do that. Byron was likely the closest, despite his love of humanity, but he wouldn't do that. The only persuasion I can think of is if the players somehow made excursions into Jersey City, or if they found and preyed on other Sabbat currently here, or I guess if you found bad people, maybe they would have enough of a grudge against the Fratelli organized crime family. Who knows what they'd end up doing. I don't expect that of them, but I certainly have the possibility to put those things in motion. Not because I have those events prepared, but because I understand what Scevolod wants. What he is doing to get it, and what he is prepared to give in return. He's not some fucking asshole, stupid ass, derp, you're gonna do this because I command you to, and you can go fuck yourself if you don't agree. And there are many Tzimisce who can't exactly relate to others and aren't willing to do things. There's no give and take process. You have to be willing to offer something to get something in return, and everyone has difficulty doing that with outsiders. The clan stereotypes are very much in effect, and it takes a lot of work to see past that for vampires. Hundreds and a few thousand years of just tradition and hate just boiled up there. For some of the clans, not so much all of them. The Tremere have only been around since the, 1300s, I think. Something like that. And of course, attitudes with the Gangrel have gone even worse now that they've officially separated from the Camarilla sect. It had one of the players been a Tremere, the game definitely would have been different. Had one of the players been a Bruja, or a Gangrel, or, there's so many different opportunities that could have happened. Aaron got some Nosferatu-specific information, and as for Nosferatu, he had certain ends, hooks into what he could and could not do, who he could contact and could not contact within the city. The same would have been true for Tremere. The Tremere have only had a passing mention in all of the 7 chapters thus far. They have not encountered a Tremere in the entire story. Is that because the Tremere don't matter? No. They are one of the core pillars behind the entire structure of the Camarilla. More than that, they worked so hard to take New York City from the Camarilla. It is impossible for me to define exactly how much effort so many of them put into devising all sorts of crazy things in the intent of completely steamrolling the Sabbat, which is what happened. And of course, other clans did a lot of work as well, but the Tremere are here, and they're powerful. What's happening with them? The coterie has been too busy. In Chapter 1, they received that initial hook from Theo Bell to investigate a potential Sabbat incursion that might threaten their domain. This was a suggestion, not a requirement, but it was the first chapter of our game together. It's the first time we were really interacting beyond all the Skype typing sessions and, of course, the character, information dumps and what have you. And so I figured, they'd follow it. And there were initial hooks put in place there to further along, and eventually I would find a way to tie them all together. I didn't know by the beginning or by the end of the first chapter where the road would take us. Chapter 2, there was another hook placed down. The party learned about the extortion that had been going on within their domain, particularly after O'Malley Real Estate had been attacked, and Evelyn O'Malley had been beaten up and discarded. They went to the middleman and resolved that in a manner of speaking, although Valentine made an appearance and made things interesting. In the third chapter, they pursued their own angles of information, sort of floundering around a bit lost. Me not giving them a concrete hook right at the beginning. There was some investigation to the Muncie Hudson expediting and storage building. That played out ultimately poorly, with Joseph stabbing a drunk driver, human, in the back. He stabbed his spine, killed him, lost a point of humanity. And David, of course, during that little mini vignette, botched horrifically. So many mistakes made. And at the beginning of the fourth session, they received 2 packages of information. One sent to David by Vargas, Mikhail Vargas, Deputy Inspector Mikhail Vargas of the 114th Precinct of Astoria. And this is what happens whenever A, you're me, and B, you spend time with this information. You learn names and events, and this is what helps you create things, understanding the campaign world. And B, a package from Dmitri, from Civilod Cerveni, detailing the events that transpired. Was the CD meant to contain a corrupt video file? Yes. That was a potential hook that the players could have pursued themselves, attempting to find a computer expert to decode that and inform them of what it meant. Did they have the time or focus? Not necessarily. David went into frenzy. Shortly after David went to frenzy, on that same game night / morning, the party got attacked by 3 Sabbat vampires who had expressly and explicitly planned to do that attack, who had been trailing and following and gathering information on these vampires, and who had obviously been looking for Leslie Cutter. That is why they burst in. They thought these guys were chumps, thought they could overpower them, outmaneuver them, outtake them. They failed. They could have pursued them off into the streets and tried to meet their final death, but instead, they knew that the sounds would attract the police. What they were more interested in was finding sort of information about anything pertaining to Leslie Cutter. They failed. They left. They kept a lookout, out of possible vengeance, and hoping to perhaps finish them all off whenever they were gathered together. They ended up bombing as well. So that was Chapter 4, the Chapter 4 of Hell. Chapter 5, the party meets Jermaine by meeting up with Match, their gunrunner, at the eastern edge of Queens. He's got what they need in the love machine. They get all sorts of armaments. They meet Jermaine, establish the independent contract with Aaron's temporary character, this Ghoul, David Green's in torpor. And they get to work sort of planning things, sort of feeling out how they're going to do this, how they're going to survive the night with apparently these Sabbat after them, and they don't understand why. And they end up gathering in O'Malley real estate, and that's when the bomb goes off. And they're immediately set flying like bats out of hell, and their domain and everything else is crashing down around them. First the Fratellis, now Sabbat, first attack and rough out the place, trying to kill them or looking for something, and now they fucking bombed it? When did they set the bomb? How did they set the bomb? They have to flee to their haven, and they're fucking shot, and they're confused, and Jordan's frustrated out of his fucking mind. You could feel it over the end of, Chapter 4, after that fight that they all had to run from, and the beginning of Chapter 5, especially into the entirety of Chapter 5, basically. It's like, what the fuck do we do? How do we get through this? We don't have any leads. Every time we try to get a lead, they fail. It's not me that's failing to provide them leads. It's just that they're not sure where to look. They're perhaps not thinking about every place they can get a lead from. There's certainly information and ability for them to get answers, and they ultimately seized upon an opportunity to do that by, perhaps after being presumed dead. Perhaps not after being presumed dead. They head out to church, and they happen to find Dante Avant. So, how much of that was planned over these first 5 chapters? Those first 5 chapters, rather. Of course, the opening intro hook about Steinway Warehouse District. I had a feeling of who Leslie Cutter was, and, how much of a great interest there'd be involved with her. I knew from the beginning who the attacker was at Steinway Warehouse District, hence the peculiarities that no one in the party recognized. The saucer-shaped scorch marks, the divots in the concrete, the wreckage and ruin. And they could have completely failed to notice Leslie Cutter. That was a possibility. It just so happened that they noticed her. How much would the game be different if they never found her? Difficult to say. Chapter 2, of course, Fratelli organization. They had interesting actions. Certainly the fight was something that I had not expected would happen, but I prepared the stat block in the notes just in case it did occur. And I had Valentine set up to be there, but what role he would end up taking would depend on what the party did. They might not have ever found or gone to the middleman at all. They could have not cared. They could have let the problem go, in which case the Fratellis would have continued to be a threat. In Chapter 3, I had particulars. I knew what key vampires in the city were doing. I knew that Thomas Arturo could not be found simply by wandering around his fucking haven. I knew that the party would end up finding jack shit with barely any light in the Muncie Hudson Expediting and Storage Company, particularly with how eerie it ended up being. You know, I knew about the fog that would end up rolling in every now and then over the course of the chapters. The Zamitzi Ouroboros that would appear. At Chapter 4, of course, I knew the information would be sent. I did not know David would go into a frenzy. I didn't know he'd be put in torpor. I didn't know he'd botch. I don't know. That fight would have been significantly different with a 8th generation vampire. Maybe things would have gone so much different. It wouldn't have been Jermaine. Jermaine's made the game interesting too, in his own way. Chapter 5, I had the Hocus match. Excuse me. I knew what the party wanted to do with Jermaine because they talked about it out of character. The whole idea of the contract with an independent ghoul. I knew that there would be a bombing attempt. I knew that the party would have a chance to catch Dante. There's certainly an opportunity to notice the bomb being planted at some point, as well as there was an opportunity to spot Dante whenever he was inspecting the church, which they did. Let's see here. That takes us through Chapter 5. Chapter 6. I knew the party would be interested in going to Elysium to speak with the sheriff. And I knew that the sheriff would be interested in speaking with the coterie after everything that had transpired. I also knew that Archon Theobald would be in town for funsies. And I knew that they would be interested in Leslie Cutter. Perhaps I also know why they're interested in Leslie Cutter. Why, though, I won't tell you. I didn't know the party would immediately go after trying to get the Staten Island immediately. I didn't know they were going to be pursuing the boat angle. I knew there was going to be a freak rainstorm, though. So it all worked out, right? I knew Boss Callahan's attitude, as well as Duke Wily, the Wily Fist. And things worked out right there. Now, you perhaps, over the course of the chapters, you may have noticed situations where the players are told one thing and then they're told another through communications with characters. Perhaps those characters are lying to them. Perhaps even they themselves don't remember. Perhaps I don't remember. Perhaps, it's all a mind fuck. That's my excuse to cover over any potential mistake. Maybe the character's lying. Maybe I rolled a secret, you spot the lie test. It's not as if they were intentionally, trying to spot for lies. It's not like an intentional sense motive thing. It's stuff that I secretly roll. Or maybe I don't secretly roll it because it looks like it's an automatic success to me one way or another. There are times when I give the player characters information, such as Marcus. You and your incredible auspex has informed you of a dangerous situation. Or you, because you rolled so highly in this hidden roll, notice the fact that this character has heavy scarring covering his right hand. Something like that. Chapter 6 was pretty interesting in regards to the whole rainstorm, how they worked on it. This Chapter 7, like I said, I knew Dimitri would connect and meet up with the player characters because he would be trying the church. If they weren't at the church, I probably would have finagled it to be somewhere else. Because I have that power. And I knew what Civilod wanted. And the blackmail opportunity there. And we just went with that. And I hadn't planned for Leslie to get involved with a fight. That being said, I knew her attributes and her skills. I just wanted to make sure that I had totaled up things properly in a macro so I wouldn't have to keep counting dice. It's better if I just put things in a macro. It goes faster since I have multiple NPCs to control. I like to have player characters in a situation where they're not being helped by NPCs, like in a fight, because it just makes things go slower. And the same is true no matter what rule set you use. It's just, you want their attention and focus to be on the action themselves. You want them to feel like they were the ones who accomplished. Like, if they went hunting with Theo Bell, how much would they feel like they did versus how much they feel like the NPC held their hand? But at times, I don't think it's a bad thing. It's just something I don't like to do a lot, because obviously Leslie Cutter, if that's what her name actually is, has considerable strength. I mean, you're looking at a situation where, you saw how many dice I rolled for a dexterity plus brawl. Perhaps if you didn't, if you weren't watching Jordan's Twitch. She ended up rolling, for her attack, 9 dice. And the Feral Claw damage is strength plus 1. So she ended up rolling 7 dice, plus however many extra successes she got on the attack roll. All of that is aggravated damage, which means that it can only be soaked with fortitude. Most vampires only have 7 health levels. There's a merit that you can get an 8th, and there might be some super special vampires out there. But aggravated damage is kind of a big deal. Having Protean 2 is kind of a big fucking deal. And because she's some sort of random vampire, she's Kato, she can have whatever the fuck she wants, right? I'm the storyteller. I can give her Viscerotica, Gargoyle Discipline if I so please. There's all sorts of crazy stories about what Kato can and can't do. So it certainly works out. I've been talking for like near 30 minutes now. No, close to 40. Wow, it doesn't feel like it was 40 minutes talking about to this alone by myself, but I obviously do this for my hobby anyway. So yes, to unite the point, how much information do I have prepared? I have the important stuff prepared, at least to me. I have the characters prepared. I have, little blurbs that I have perhaps embedded in their tokens, and perhaps in my notes as well, of who the characters are, and how they feel, and what they want. That's what's so important. When you devise a campaign world, whether it's Dungeons & Dragons or this one that I'm just learning here, you have a villain. Alright, let's say you've created a villain, a major villain, for a campaign arc of a game. What does he want? Or she? What does this villain want? Immortality. Power. Revenge. To have fun. Okay. What is the villain willing to do in order to get what he wants? Raise an undead army. Destroy the city of... Townsville is the first one I came up with. Are you fucking kidding me? Destroy the city of Townsville. Flay the flesh of children from bones and consume it for unholy vigor. What does the villain want to do? What is he willing to do to get it? And what does he have to help him get that? Does he have loyal allies? Does he have magic powers? Does he have, great strength? What resources are at his disposal? What can he do? That's important to know. Just like with these players who invest so much time, slavishly crafting their characters, investing every dot or experience point, poring over rule books for feats or spells, assigning their skill points meticulously. They have all the time in the world to craft what their character wants. Of course, the player wants to have fun. As a player, have fun by playing that character. What does the character want? Of course, you have the folks who really don't want to invest in a whole lot of role-playing stuff. They want to go adventuring. They want their lives to be uncomplicated. Just simple combat for money and loot. Nothing inherently wrong with that. Of course, I obviously enjoy a deeper role-playing thing, but I can certainly do dungeon crawl. It could be fun from time to time. And take a relax from all the fucking drama. Like, I don't need to have fucking drama every goddamn episode. I have drama every day in my real life. Like, fucking kidding me? This is not high school. Oh, man. So, there's that. Not every storyteller, though, is capable of... I've mentioned this before in a prior session where I talked for a long time at the microphone. Not every game master, dungeon master, storyteller is capable of coming up with such things on the fly. If you're not, that's okay. But it would behoove you to find players who are comfortable with... Perhaps the players are novices or uncomfortable with role-playing in-depth stuff. Perhaps they're okay with you just feeding them hooks and then following them. You know, you're able to devise a railroad that they'll stay on, and that's okay. So long as you find, other people who want to play that way, so you can all have fun together. It's important to understand what every person coming into this hobby wants from said hobby. You're committing to something. This is a dedication. I take this hobby very seriously. It matters to me, and it's important to me. I have been doing this since I was 8 years old. The year 1995. I am now 25, going on 26. For 17 years, I have engaged in some form or another in role-playing, tabletop stuff. There's been too many times where I've been like the bride or groom left at the altar, and, someone's not shown up. Someone's not shown a level of commitment. And the more years I go, it's the more years I end up taking, more and more seriously. I'm the bitter asshole. And of course, I have nothing on fucking Dave. He's in his 30s. Cripson, rather. Who doesn't want his real name said simply because of the confusion that's associated with the Nosferatu David Green. So there's that. Not everyone's capable of it. It's fine if you aren't. I certainly am able to do a lot of off-the-cuff shit, though. I'm comfortable with it. It's not necessarily a form of procrastination. It's just, I can make it work. Let's just see where it goes, where the road takes me. And certainly there have been times where I think something's interesting. And I'm like, what's wrong with it? That needs to occur, particularly whenever you have creative players. Particularly whenever you're in a sandbox rule set like Vampire the Masquerade. This is not Dungeons & Dragons. This is very different. The theme and mood of VtM is so gritty and dark and selfish in nature. These characters do not inherently work for each other. They inherently work for themselves. They have banded together because they've seen each other to be useful, and there is nothing wrong with ambitious people using other ambitious people together to collectively achieve their desires. I'm ambitious. You're ambitious. We have similar goals, but they're not exactly the same. We aspire to be different sides of the same slice of bread, or whatever the fuck. It's related. In that instance, rather than be apart, we can instead fuse ourselves together and help us achieve what we want. You want to be Prince. I don't want to be Prince. I want to be Primogen. I will help you be Prince if you help me be Primogen. I don't want to be Prince. I want to be, a respected member of the kindred community. I want to have a great domain. I want to be a contact that you go to for information, who supplies you with things. someone you quote-unquote trust, you want to be prince. Well, I'll help you do this, you help me do that. Obviously, if you have the same ambition, you can't work with the person, I want to be this, well, I want to be this, well, get fucked. But there is nothing wrong with ambitious people using each other. And, as it turns out, White Wolf has programmed Vampire the Masquerade so that vampires are inherently selfish and mostly ambitious, at least to the point of self-preservation. So, Byron, in his lofty goals, wants to become prince. I don't think anyone else in the party wants to be prince. So there you go. If someone else in the party wanted to become prince, then there would be tension. But, that's a lofty goal that involves a lot of exposure and danger. Many people would rather be a primogen instead, or, respected elder, or some other such title, perhaps a sheriff or what have you, rather than the prince. And there might be some consequences that immediately befall the new Prince of New York. Certainly it's going to take a lot of trouble, but things are progressing behind the scenes. And that's important to keep in mind, too. There is a timeline flowing through my head of when this debate for princedom can end, of who's currently in the lead with the most support, and how much time is left for that. The city has been without an official prince for a little over a month now. It was back in late December when Calibros stepped down from his position. And so the parties had some time basically operating under the final tenets of the prince as well as the sheriff. Having a prince is important for the purposes of the Camarilla Ivory Tower structure. It's important for the purposes of stability. If no prince is elected for a long time, things will change. Things will happen. Correlations between characters, how they feel, perhaps outside influences as well will change. Perhaps the Sabbat, sensing weakness, will launch an all-out attack. Perhaps the Anarchs will launch an attack of their own. Who knows what the Anarchs are doing? I might not fully know what the Anarchs are doing. I just know what they want. Just as I know what the Sabbat want. And I know what the player characters want. Their job is to obtain it, using the tools that I give them as well as the ones they improvise. That's just it. It's a sandbox, but it's made out of Play-Doh. Make your own tools. They have. They chartered a boat, traveled across to Staten Island. They didn't have to do that, but they did. Did it work? Well, they had fun. And they got something out of it. They have been struggling and scrounging for leads for a very long time, and to an extent that is because David's in Torpor. David's in Torpor, and he's the investigative one, and no one else is really investigative in his place. That happens. That's fine. They all bring something different to the table. In that regard, shit. They have to go about things in other ways. Who can say what would have been different had David Green still not been in Torpor? Had they managed to somehow finagle this plan to addict this Vito Fratelli to David's blood? Perhaps they would have had a great in with Carter Van der Weyden. Perhaps he would have respected them as capable individuals. Perhaps folks who could even be trusted with greater knowledge about things. He has eidetic memory, right? And he's a championing of the people type. Perhaps he's the best choice for Prince. Maybe he's not. He's Malkavian. Who knows? Not many people know what his insanity is. It's not something you exactly share with people. Especially if you don't actually think you're crazy. I think I'm crazy, therefore I'm not crazy. Right? Yep. Alright, I think that's all the info blurb. Oh, shit. I think I flicked the microphone. I had to share about the topic. Again, questions, comments about the situation. Perhaps I will do small videos in the future where I simply talk about dungeon mastering / game mastering / tabletop stuff. I wouldn't know where to begin such a series.
Wouldn't know where to have a jumping point. And although it would tie in with my hobby, it would just attract different people. I am an arrogant, boisterous man who has an overbearing personality. I suppose I'll see you all next week. So little time is passing in game, it's interesting. I think I will probably continue to hold out on experience points, as they simply have not had the ability to reflect on things. Although it's a reward for folks who remain active, it also ends up being the situation where I want to advance and increase the powers of certain other vampires as well. They're not all so active, so they're not all advancing and learning as much. The players are thrust into situations where their lives are in great danger. And I like to think that this is really the first time where I handed out different experience point rewards. I gave Marcus and Byron 5, which, I'd been giving 3 per session prior, basically. So 5 was a little bit of a slowdown. And I don't have a problem with that. I've been pretty generous. I don't have a problem with the 3 experience points I've been giving them thus far. Just that I feel as if they have done less, despite the very long sessions the past 2 weeks. So I gave them less. Joseph and Jermaine have developed their characters more, particularly through the intensive roleplay that occurred at the end of the session, so I gave them more. I might continue to curb down experience points, because they've had so little time to reflect upon things. I might have, again, weeks where they don't earn any. It depends on what they do, and how I end up feeling at the time. Rather mercurial, but I am a mercurial person by nature, and that's probably why I'm so good at improvising shit. I'm mercurial, and I'm creative. Those brain juices go, and I'm off to the races. There's no telling exactly how much of this shit I make up, and I never really reveal that. It's all a secret. I might make the dice rolls in my head. I joked about that before, and Aaron's like, yeah, you could. I'm like, I could. It's a thing. It's a possibility. Particularly since no one can hear me rolling them. Or I could have them pre-rolled. Who knows? I believe you all ended up seeing just how much I explained, like, how much I had prepared for, like, the David vignette, his little mini-story, and, how much I end up having prepared for Marcus's little stay at, the middleman as well. Oh, good times. If you're looking to get into the storytelling business, well, White Wolf tells you to fudge rolls and lie to players all the time. I don't. I have a grasp of what I'm doing, and I don't show all my cards. Because, like any good story, you want to have some surprise there and mystery. You want to have someone work for it. And they've definitely been working for it. And there's always that week of time there between chapters for suspense to build up. They've seen interesting characters. They really saw an interesting character. They've been meeting major NPCs. They've been meeting enemy NPCs. They've been succeeding, too. It's a big deal. But they won't always succeed. Yeah. So, how about my Zemitzi elder I created? Not bad, huh? I am, actually rather pleased with myself for that character. Really like him. I think, he and I together can do great things. Does he have a planned end in store for him? Perhaps. Does New York City have a planned end in store of it? Perhaps. But maybe I wouldn't think that far ahead. Because so many things can change based upon the player's actions. That's what the role-playing story ends up being. Except for a universe like Warhammer or, 40K, whether it's, Fantasy Roleplayer 40K, where the players are regarded as so completely unimportant and they can't change a single thing at all in the universe, and everything is hopeless and lost, and basically they're fighting against that the entirety. No, many of these role-playing sessions end up being the player characters being not immediately being a focal point, but they have the potential and the capacity and the ability to grow, to become a focal point. None of these players might become a prince or a major mover and shaker of New York City, but their actions can help determine who ends up becoming the next prince of New York City, and the relevant rewards that might be associated with that. I don't think the story will end until that's resolved. That was a huge arc coming into the beginning of the description. It's a major arc happening. Not in the forefront, but it's definitely in the backcurrent the entire time. And there are other things the player characters have not encountered because they've been so swamped. From mortal vampire hunters to perhaps other situations as well. All the while, the Ouroboros watches. What has become of Lambach Ruthen? Has he just vanished, as any Methuselah can? Maybe gone into torpor? Took a snooze? Wake up in several hundred years? Who knows? And that creature that apparently can fire superheated, supernatural lances of pure light and heat. Apparently that was after Leslie Cutter in the warehouse. Maybe she saw it first hand, knew exactly what it looked like. Perhaps there was so much more information in Leslie's head that Byron could have looked for with his dominate discipline. Maybe the player characters could have learned so much if they had taken option B, or choice C, or opportunity D. We talked about it at the end of last week's session, how Byron could have possibly delved into the mind of, what the fuck did I name him? Eugene? Francis? Something around the name. Some random, rabble that Duke Wiley had, dragged down, from a few floors. So many options. And, again, I take the time at the beginning, of every week, not the beginning of every week, but, towards when we get into the session, when I'm planning it all out, whether it ends up being Friday night or Saturday morning, sometime around there, I look at the players' character sheets and I ask myself, what can they do? How can this player character succeed? I want to put the player characters in a position. I want to give them the opportunity to succeed. Whether they seize upon that is their choice. Whether they travel off the path that, I prepared for them, not a railroad. Again, it's the tools that I put in the sandbox. It's their choice. But they can pick up the axe and carve their own path. They can blaze it on their own, and I'm willing to come along. The player characters are really the ones who are the storytellers. I set the foundation. I create the stage. They are the players who drive everything. I have an undercurrent of a timeline. I am a historian, and the events will follow. They're the ones who changed that. Alright. This takes care of this little session here. My speaking session, my conveyance. Yeah, went on for quite some time. Alright, everyone. Take care. Again, questions, comments, rude remarks, slander, statements, feel free to leave them in the comments. And I suppose we might even look forward to having you bebop along for the ride next week. Take care, everyone. Good night.